Hey, beautiful community. It's Adrienne here, and I'm here to share some things that have been on my heart with you today. I've been feeling this strong inner nudge or um, message that I should start sharing a series. So I'm creating a short video series made up of a bunch of separate chapters, short little videos that are little glimpses into my personal growth, and I hate to use that term, but lack of the better word, that have shaped the work that I'm doing right now. And it feels super timely because I don't know if you've noticed, but it feels like we're standing on the edge of something major that's unfolding, not just in our individual lives, but across the entire globe, the planet itself. And um, there's this sense that we're being tossed around in a storm. It's political, it's economic, it's societal, it's an entire upheaval of the ways that we've been doing things. And especially in the US, it feels like the very foundation of our country is being shaken, let's say. And and this moment that we're experiencing now didn't just arrive out of nowhere. It's been a massive wave that has been building for decades and probably longer than that. And it's just now crashing or getting ready to crash on the shore of our country. And we've all been riding this wave. In fact, we've been in the wave because it's a historical consciousness that's unfolding. And as this is happening, a lot of clarity has been arising, a lot of threads of my life that felt random, that didn't make sense. But I feel like they're all landing into a bigger picture. I don't know if you've ever looked into like one of those little kaleidoscopes where you see like colors and images, and then all of a sudden the pattern comes into focus. And I've started to see my life in a much bigger, larger mosaic and my own individual experience in the evolution of consciousness. That's what I really want to share with you. And um, I want to provide my story as a kind of like a case study in a video series. Not because it's particularly special, although I think it is. But we all have our own unique version that's unfolding right now. Each of us is a vital piece of this living, breathing, collective unfoldment of consciousness, of humanity. And another reason that I'm feeling called to share this with you is a lot of people don't really know what I do. And I'd love to share that with you because the work that I do is deeply tied to the vision that I hold for the future of humanity, of leadership, of what it means to have emotional and psychological health as a birthright, and ultimately for a more conscious humanity is what we're able to hold. And this vision goes beyond borders because we're all interconnected. And what happens on one side of the world ripples across the entire globe, whether we see it right away or whether we realize it or not. It, it is under the surface of the wave. And much of what we've been taught to believe about how the world is shaped by our role in the world, what we've been shown um, through media, through social platforms, are systems that have been built with a particular cultural, economic perspective. And they've been shaped by people with billions of dollars. And there's much more underneath the surface of what's happening right now that we don't always see. It looks chaotic, it looks uncertain, and it is to some degree, but under that is the deep blue ocean. And there's a visible crash of global systems that are crashing on purpose because they've been built on profit and unequal power and ontological models of individuality, of separation that are no longer viable. They're not going to work anymore. And so this has been showing up more particularly in my life through a song. I don't. I don't know how it works for you, but I am a mystic by birth. I have been navigate my life through signs and symbols, and I don't often share this with everyone because a lot of people don't understand how it is to live from that. And actually, I was raised with a lot of shame around that. But it is really my intuitive connection to life. And that's what mysticism is. It's realizing our relationship to all the subtleties that are our aliveness, that are all the way connected to nature and the planet. But to get back to the song that I was telling you about by the Cranberries called Zombie. And it's quite an old song. You may have heard it before. When it first came out, I didn't understand what it was about. I didn't understand what she was saying, but it like had this catchy tune, and I'm like, but what is she even saying? And so originally, I looked it up and I found out the title of the name and that what she was singing about. But then it wasn't years later till I realized that the real origin of the song was a tribute. It was a response to the tragic deaths of two boys, two young boys, in 1993 that were killed in the Warrington bombing in England, which was part of this violence between Northern Ireland and England that had religious roots. It's really about political power, who has the right to have autonomy and agency in their own future. And it is when you really listen to the lyrics, as I have now, um, there's a reason why this song is arising at this moment in my awareness because it is a pain tribute to the loss that's involved in the cycle of violence, intergenerational trauma and conflict. And as the song has resurfaced in my awareness, it is particularly related to the horrific violence that's happening right now in the Middle East, in Gaza, of course, many other places in the world, where more than two children have been lost and killed. And yet the global response feels so muted in comparison to the loss that's happening. It's it's heartbreaking. And it speaks to a deeper imbalance uh, in exactly whose lives are considered valuable, whose lives should we grieve, whose lives are allowed to be overlooked. And that, of course, needs to change clearly because what's happening in Gaza and so many other places like Sudan and the Congo and other places that I won't mention right now, but it's a mirror, it's a portal. It's asking us to examine these deeper patterns in our own psyche of the reenactment, the ritual reenactment of trauma, war, vengeance, and dehumanization. Because these aren't new expressions, new symptoms, they're old recycled shadows of colonialism, of nationalism, of unchecked consumption and capitalism. And so while this series is not political per se in a narrow sense, I'm going to be offering the whole picture because our beliefs and the systems that those beliefs create, if they keep recreating harm, they affect every one of us. And they're not just out there, they're inside, they're the internalization of these systems that get reenacted generation after generation. And America in particular is at a turning point. For generations, it's maintained global dominance under the promise of freedom and democracy And in many cases, it's really served as a protector of those things around the world. But it's also created a lot of violence through extraction of resource and systemic oppression, not only abroad, but at home in this country. There's many people that have not had sense of equality. And now the mask is slipping. It's not only slipping, it's crumbling as we watch in real time. And it's a product of the unresolved trauma of slavery, of genocide, of resistance, and well, resistance to change of what's happening right now. You can see it in the backlash of DEI, the erasure of inclusion. You can see it in the cultural wars. You can see it in the immigration policies of people being swept off the streets and disappeared into foreign prisons. But this reckoning isn't just about history, it's about what's possible, what's going to be born out of this crisis. What can we build if we didn't recreate the same broken models of power to dominate or to control? What if power wasn't something to hoard, but something to share, something used to regenerate life on the planet and to connect and collaborate, create community? That's what this series that I'm going to be doing is about, to talk about my own personal journey, but it's also deeply collective. And in that way, I hope really healing and a way of reclaiming our power, not in the old ways of domination, but one that uplifts and liberates each other. And this is not just an issue of politics and institutions, but the space of our mind and our heart. Because our institutions and our political systems simply reflect what's going on inside of us. And if we continue to repeat the same harmful patterns of hierarchy and control, we'll reap those fruits. And I don't want to say fruits, I'm saying it's not viable. We're not honoring ourselves and each other. It's about building the bridge as we cross it. And this requires learning new ways to interact. So I'm going to be posting these chapters regularly, sharing stories and insights and reflections of my path and the things and lessons I've learned. And I haven't settled on a title. I was kind of jokingly thinking that I would name it the Zombie Apocalypse, partly inspired by the song and the madness that we're all experiencing right now. But I think that I might want to pick a title that focuses more on what's possible, and what we're wanting to birth out of this process. So I'd like to hear your thoughts and your reflections, especially if you, as you've been listening to my share today, if something resonated with you or like sparked an inspiration or like a aha moment for you. I was also thinking like the bridge builders or something like living the question. But I'd love to hear what your thoughts on a possible title. And so I'll be sharing I'm guessing, one or two chapters every week. And I want to thank you for being here and listening to this, what I'm calling an introduction to the chapters. So later, today's Friday, so early next week, I'll begin with chapter 1. And I guess I just want to close with saying that if you're feeling grief right now, or you're feeling overwhelmed or uncertain, just know that that's okay. That's part of the process. What's happening right now isn't random. It is a outcome of a collection of choices and a state of consciousness that made those choices, that we're experiencing this right now. And until we can wake up and take accountability for what we've been creating instead of it happening by accident or blaming other people for what we've created, And then we'll continue to be in a cycle of helplessness that shows brute power outside, but has none internally. And yeah, and just want you to know that you are not alone. And if you're feeling that way, maybe you're not. But if you are, I just want to let you know that you are not alone. We're all birthing this baby together. And it's scary. It's dangerous. This is the most precious, delicate time um, for the mother and the child. That's happening right now. But nature is wise. Nature is intelligent. And you are a vital part of this great shift that we're in. And I'd love for you to join me in this series if you feel called. So until next time, till chapter 1 next week, please remember what a valuable treasure you are and the important role that you're playing. And I'll see you next week. Bye for now.